What's going on, everybody? Back with another replay, playing as Tzeentch again, and this time I'm facing someone playing as Bretonnia, and we're on the Crossing the Sea of Claws map. And I don't have too much of them in my starting roster, but I brought a pretty good amount of anti-large stuff. So you can see I've got, I believe they're Chaos Warriors with halberds, and 2 squads of Screamers. And then I brought some basic infantry, some Marauders, Forsaken, and then the Exalted Pinks were basically, or not the, I don't think these are Exalted Pinks, but just the Pink Horrors, were just to get some shooting and sit in the back line. And so, again, three squads of Marauders, 2 squads of Forsaken, 2 squads of Screamers, Chaos Warriors with halberds, Pink Horrors, and my Lord is Sarthorael the Everwatcher. So, armor piercing damage. I brought, I brought Plague of Rust. I wanted to be able to decrease the armor on if they had any kind of like big entities, heavy cavalry, glittering robe, and final transmutation in case there's any big blob fights. So that's what I brought. My opponent has got, let's take a look here, looks like 4 squads of peasant mobs, the Green Knight, Royal Hippogriff Knights, Henry La Massif, Beast Slayers of Bastogne, so they're foot squires. I believe foot squires are normally anti-infantry, but these guys are anti-large, and Enchantress. So I'm gonna speed this up just on the approach because the beginning is pretty slow. So I sent most of my troops to point 2. I saw him bringing a squad of peasants back to point 3, and I figured that would be where I would send my other troops. I thought he was going towards point 1 with his main army. You can kind of see the direction he's moving in, so I figured I wouldn't go that way. And again, Screamers, I really wanted to be able to deal with the maneuverability of his cavalry, because I know Bretonnia is usually a heavy, a cavalry heavy faction. And then I brought, basic Marauders and Forsaken, because I figured they could deal with most of the infantry that the Bretonnians would bring. So the good thing is that he brought the Green Knight, but a lot of the Tzeentch troops, in fact, I think all Tzeentch troops do some kind of magic damage. So the ethereal aspect of the Green Knight, is not going to really pay off there for him. And I would imagine this is just a case of him not being as familiar with the rosters or some of the game mechanics. I would take a wild guess that most people, it's got a, what is that, a comet? Not sure what that is. Let's see. I don't know what ability that was, but he just did some kind of comet or bombardment spell on my Pink Horrors. So you can see I'm charging in here with some Furies and some Marauders. Want to deal with his peasant mob. He's got the Green Knight, and he also has Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis. So these are some Shock Cavalry, Knights Errant, and they have Frenzy. They also have, let's see, Lance. It's a formation, so it looks like it gives them better charge at the expense of defense. So here, now what I'm doing is I'm bringing Screamers in. I figured that he was potentially going to bring in more cavalry, so I brought all my Screamers across. These guys are going to join eventually. And my Furies are jumping on top of the peasant mob. I figured even if he charges in there with the Green Knight, I can jump on top of him with one of my things of Screamers, and they'll deal well with him. Again, anti-large, armor piercing, magic damage. Perfect against the ethereal cavalry unit. He's bringing more cavalry, so Knights of the Realm, defending the Fleur-de-Lis. And here comes my other squad of Screamers. Marauders with Spears are charging on here to get some capture weight and also to just participate in this cavalry fight. I figured his main force was over here, so he was going to be getting cavalry this way the quickest. And that was going to be the best way for me to deal with that, is just get some Spears over there, get some anti-large. The Spears will be capture weight. Screamers will contribute there, and just taking good value trading. So he's ahead on the value trading right now, but he spent all his supplies. I got 2,300 built up, and I'm just sitting on this point. I did bring a group of Marauders over here that could charge this way if he doesn't make a move anytime soon. And now we got a big blob fight over here. So I brought Sarthorael over to contribute. So I got Knights of the Realm, Pegasus Knights fighting Sarthorael, and some Screamers. I was looking around trying to make sure that Sarthorael wasn't going to get mobbed. And you can see here comes the cavalry for them. So Henry La Massif, Royal Hippogriff Knights, Fey Enchantress on a horse. And they are charging in. I've got my Lord kind of on the backside of this blob here, so that's not great. But I'm starting to bring reinforcements. I got Chosen Warriors with halberds, so that's going to be some big, heavy anti-large coming in. They're pretty slow, so it'll take them some time. But you can see attack animation luckily helping me out, and then issuing some move commands to get him through this mob, to get Sarthorael out of that mob, I should say. Marauder Spearmen, Screamers doing well against the Green Knight and the Knights of the Realm. The peasants are chased off just to the edge of the map. They didn't fully flee. And at this point I was running, and I had my finger right on the button to land on the ground with Sarthorael just in case they kept in pursuit, but they ended up backing off. More Marauder Spears coming in to help out these Screamers. And Chosen with halberds also on the way. And excuse me, I might have called these guys the Chosen, but I got Chaos Warriors. They were already on the central point. You can see I got Marauders of Tzeentch going to deal with the peasant mob, and I was trying to do my best to keep an eye on what's going on up here. I mean, these are just peasant mobs, and then the Beast Slayers, so they don't have any like really good anti-infantry options over here. So I was just keeping an eye on what's he doing with this force here. What's he bringing in for reinforcements? I figured with time, my Screamers, my halberd units, my spear units, we're going to be able to deal with whatever they had over here. Although my Marauder Spears got dealt away with, and my squad of Screamers over there got dealt away with because he brought in a lot of reinforcements, he is contributing a lot of value to holding that point. And again, I felt that I was taking valuable trades, and as you can see, I'm starting to get a little bit ahead on the damage value. We're both around similar supplies right now, but just keeping an eye on Sarthorael, trying to make sure that he doesn't get just completely crushed and surrounded by what he's got here. And then this is starting to get to the point where it's dangerous. That was a pretty big meteor coming down on my Chaos Warriors with halberds. Got Forsaken coming in to reinforce as well. I saw the Foot Squires, and I wanted to have someone that could deal with them. And just a big blob fight. See the Green Knight in there. Knights of the Realm doing some work. Pull back up here so I can get an overhead view. So Fey Enchantress not doing well. Knights of the Realm not doing well. Pegasus Knights getting chased off. More Knights of the Realm getting chased off. Henry La Massif, Green Knight. Royal Hippogriff Knights still holding ground. Recharging with the Pegasus Knights from Bretonnia coming downhill. And I'm moving Sarthorael around a little bit, just trying to make sure he doesn't get stuck back here. I lost my my army ability at Henry La Massif. It is, I don't think it can miss. Forsaken matched up against the Foot Squires. With all the other troops in there, you know, it's not a bad trade in my opinion. Although my Lord is down to half health, and that's not great to see. His is a little bit lower, but he's doing a good job of keeping her out of the battle. But on the other side, I've got the Weird Spawn and Chaos Warriors with halberds coming in to reinforce. And again, I put a lot of anti-large troops in reinforcement for this build, and so far it's been paying off. You can see on the other side, excuse me for not kind of going back and forth, but I brought another squad of Forsaken because I saw my opponent reacting with some more reinforcements over here. You can see the Beast Slayers of Bastogne coming in. Anti-large Foot Squires, but again, they are anti-large, and although their armor piercing have good overall stats, I don't have any large troops over here. I'm just sticking with infantry. So these guys are doing a pretty good job of holding the line. I was able to take point 1 from them. They still have not put any pressure on point 2, so just sitting on there with some Marauders, with some Pink Horrors. I figure I can move these guys if I need to, but while he has troops sitting around this area, that's okay. My Marauders that I sent around this side are locked in with some Foot Squires. You can see the normal Foot Squires have bonus for infantry, so they're going to shred through these Marauders, but slowing them down. Ideally not a trade that I want to take, but there's a lot going on. I'm really focused on this at the time, and keep an eye on this as well. So going to lose out on the value trade there, but no biggie. And this blob fight just continues. I mean, there's just so much going on. Marauders, Chaos Warriors with Halberds, Chosen, more Chaos Warriors, Weird Spawn coming in. Henry Lamasif is still doing pretty well. The Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis are still in there. Royal Hippogriff Knights are starting to lose their morale, and the Green Knight is back in. I think they must have got some Earth Bloods on him or some kind of healing on him. I believe I'd done some more damage to him. Weird Spawn charging in to give some support. Sarthorael's kind of just sitting in the background. I wanted to give him some time to rebuild his barrier. This is something that I've been trying to. I mean, this is only my second match as Tzeentch, but I've been trying to be somewhat attentive to the barrier. What would you call it? Mechanic, I guess, for Tzeentch, and especially with my lords, where it's easier to maybe get them out of combat and bring them back in, get them out. You know, not be surrounded by as much troops during these, you know, little blob fights. Let him recharge his shield and then get him back in once he's a little bit safer. So you can see I shifted my pink horrors over to this side. I wanted to get some flanking shots in. Fortunately, my Marauders are starting to get smashed. The Forsaken are not doing too well either. But I do have points 2 and points 3 well held. And point 1 is still mine, although it's likely that I'll lose that soon. So Sarthorael charged back in. I figured I had, you know, 2 squads of spear troops, halberds and spears, sitting on here with just these single entities, those being the Green Knight and Henry. They brought their Royal Hippogriff Knights back in, but again, good amount of support for Sarthorael. His shield is down at this point, but he'll be able to hold. Got Chaos Warriors with halberds coming after the Fleur-de-Lis, Knights Errant. Although they're jumped on top of my Weird Spawn, I wanted to get them and deal away with these mounted Yemian archers, but these guys are real fast, and Chaos Warriors on foot with 28 speed are not going to be able to catch up with them. 92 speed on these guys, you know, not going to happen. But Forsaken, Chaos Warriors with halberds, dealing with the foot squires and the peasant mob, you know, still got good capture weight over there. And at this point, now they're starting to bring guys into the middle. So they got the Enchantress, Battle Pilgrims, Regiments of Renown, more foot squires, and more peasant mobs coming in here. And it's not super evident visually. You see I brought some reinforcements in. I brought some Screamers and some more Forsaken to try to deal away with the cavalry that came, the Grail Guardians that came in support. But I'm getting pushed back here, and ultimately I'm going to lose this point. But what I was saying was that, although it's not super visually apparent, this little structure here, these little kind of ruins, are impassable terrain. So what I did was, I had set up my Marauders kind of like in between these 2 pieces, so that in order for them to get a flank off, they had to run all the way around through here. Not a huge difference, but using the terrain in these ways can be useful. Furies coming in to reinforce. Marauders are doing well to hold. These Battle Pilgrims are going to be pretty gnarly to deal with. Immune to psychology. They got frenzy. They got high leadership. Pretty good combat stats. Fire damage, magical attacks. You know. So again, foot squires, Battle Pilgrims. They got some archers shooting in. That's part of the reason I brought the Chaos Furies. I figured I could jump over this. I saw that they had just recently brought in some more reinforcements, and at this point, I'm abandoning point 1. I'm way ahead in the victory points, so I figured as long as I'm just able to hold one of the points, you know, triple caps probably not going to happen at this point. And so I'm going to fast forward just to save time. There's not too much else interesting that goes on in this. Looks like I think he just forfeited at that point, but yeah, well played to my opponent. Luckily, I was able to really just hold down on points 2 and 3, especially. That was where most of the combat, you see just all the corpses over here in between these 2 points, and over here, a lot of battle on this side of the map. Just left a couple troops over here to make sure that I didn't lose this right away. And yeah, anyways, let's go and take a look at the endgame stats. So Sarthorael, 2,500, pretty good value. Chaos Warriors with halberds, really good value on them. Forsaken didn't do great. Maybe Forsaken are not the best infantry to bring against Bretonnia. I guess some of the money that you're paying for them is for their armor, And Bretonnia does not seem to have very good shooting, especially armor-piercing shooting, from what I was seeing. In fact, they might just have like yeoman archers, these mounted light horse archers, and peasant archers. So maybe bring something different, maybe a heavier damage dealer that has less armor instead of Forsaken in the future. Screamers, definitely huge. These guys didn't get great value, but the unit in general did well. Marauders did decent. Again, Chosen with halberds, these guys put in work. Screamers did good. Furies, alright. Marauders with spears did great. Definitely great compared to their value. They only cost 500 gold, I believe. And then for my opponent, Fey Enchantress didn't get too much. Green Knight didn't get too much. Hippogriff Knights didn't get probably as much as they cost. Same thing with Henry. Or maybe it's Henri, because I guess they're supposed to be kind of French, I believe. Beast Slayers didn't do great. Peasant mobs are just never going to do good, I don't think. I don't think you're ever going to see them haul in value like that. Grail Guardians didn't do great. So overall, just good value trading on my part. I think that bringing a very heavy anti-large build with Tzeentch works incredibly well against Bretonnian builds. And you know, I guess some of it was that I was able to get some good trades as far as unit matchups. So as far as getting Screamers on top of Knights not being able to get as much on top of my infantry, you know, I didn't have really almost any situations where his cavalry were getting on top of my Marauders, my base Marauders and my Forsaken. All the infantry engagements that his cavalry were involved in were mostly with my Marauders with spears and with my Chaos Warriors and Chosen with halberds. And this is one of the things that I noticed as I'm playing this game, is that when you're playing against higher level players, and this just comes with experience, is a lot of the higher level players, they will just refuse to take value trades that are not favorable for them. And there's a lot more, you know, backing up and trying to pull guys into unfavorable engagements. And there's more, I guess, like I would call it, there's more dancing going on with the unit movement. Whereas people who are less experienced, and myself included, are just right-clicking on whatever's closest. And that's something for me to work on as well. But anyways, well played to my opponent. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.